Okay, we are, good afternoon. I hope you enjoyed your Labor Day, if you had a chance to relax a little bit. We had a, I'll get into that in a bit, but John, if you want to get started.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 4:02. And first item is attendance.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
No community right now. The minutes were in your calendar, and I also printed them for you. If you wanted to take a look, I did that because I want to use that for our themes discussion a little bit later. So, if there's anything we need to adjust.
Okay.
My name's spelled wrong, but
It is?
I don't really care.
Oh no, I spelled it many times.
Maybe it's an O in there.
The gene is right.
Yeah, the gene is right.
Can I blame my keyboard? All right, we will
There you
make
go.
an edit on Gene's last name, K-O-E-H-L-E-R.
Motion and second for approval of the minutes, last meeting.
I'll second it.
Gio and Gene.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the agenda.
I will note that we do have an item in executive session, so we'll move into executive session when it's time for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Festival review.
Okay, the yellow sheet that you've got is basically a P&L of the festival. There's just a couple of outliers. We've tried to plug in everything we know so far as bills, and it's what we're expecting, but there aren't many missing. But and I'm going to mouse over on the screen so you can kind of see what those numbers. There's some notes here too. So first of all, overall, we thought it went well. We had a couple of incidents during concerts with people fighting or grabbing each other, and but we had 20, we had 2,500 plus in the Scotty McCurry show, and we had two couples that we had to deal with. Nothing serious, but our police stepped in, and same with Skillet. We had a couple folks that just thought that they didn't like the other way someone was acting, and our police handled it and took care of the situation. So otherwise, overall, the festival tickets, I've got up here, tickets were increased. So while we were up in total dollars, which is the 5 years that I've been here, this is the highest we've had from Gold Star. However, this is the first year they've raised their prices. So they went from $49 to $52 on the pre-sale, and then after the festival started, $55 to $60 dollars. And then they did a Saturday option, which was really quite nice. They did a $30 all-you-can-ride from 12 to 11 on Saturday. The pre-sale were down, and I think like substantial, 150 vouchers. Part of that, I mean, we put it out there pretty well, I think. We didn't know the prices until the Friday before they went on sale. And that is no fault of Craig or I. We've been tried since early July, June to get Gold Star to give us that information. And I told them when we did our settlement, it's just not acceptable. Well, you know what they're going to be if they've been doing fairs. And ours might be different than other fairs, they don't know that. But I made a note, I saw in last year's that increase expected. So we knew that was coming. So I said, what are they? And we literally just didn't have that information to put out there that they're going to be, $52 instead of $49. So we couldn't put a price out, just that they were going to be on sale that day, and that kind of forced their hand to get us a price. But pre-sale were down, total dollars were up, which is always good. Our sponsors going to be about $23,000 in sponsorships. We've got two invoices. Yeah, we got $3,500 invoice that are not in yet, but I have any reason to think that they wouldn't be. Greg, I don't think it's an issue. They just haven't processed them yet. So there's always room for improvement there. You know, when we kind of put out in May, June, hey, who can we contact? Give me some contacts to reach out to. So I certainly appreciate those of you that either were sponsors or reached out to sponsors. But if you think of someone throughout the year as a board member, hey, they'd be interested, I think they'd be a good festival sponsor, please send them to me and Craig, and we'll reach out to them. We'll put them on the list to contact. That's what we started doing that in May and June. So, but we can do it throughout the year. In fact, I already know we have 2 concert sponsors for next year as a follow-up initiative. There's always room to add sponsors. Vendor booths, that is up from last year. We lost 2 food booths, added 2 food booths, and then we got a lake, actually 2 lake clothing booths added. Thank you, Jordan. And they were on the south end. Now, our vendors, depends on who you talk to. Oh, the mini donut person, that was great. They had a great festival right across the street. Now it seemed to be down. We don't record, we don't collect a portion of their sales. Some fairs do. So we don't have them report that other than the Department of Revenue. So you kind of have to take word of mouth a little bit, and I had a chance to visit with most of them. Sunday, we were down big time. It was that day, extreme heat warning came out the night before, and it kind of scared folks away. We were half of what we were in 2023 on Sunday. The Gold Star normally would do $12,000 on Sunday. They did just over 6. And so the vendors took a hit, certainly on Sunday too. So I think it just scared a little bit of people away. Ticketing, obviously you've kind of been very aware of that. Final numbers, so we sold 2,237 sold for Scott and Fury. There's 295 that were comp for sponsors. So we really felt we had 2,500 in the building, plus our workers and volunteers and things like that. Battle of the Bands, 366 were sold at the door, or we sold some ahead of time. We expected most of that to be walk-in, and then there was 290 comped for Battle of the Bands. We were a little more generous with those, just because we wanted folks in the building. And so we had 500 plus here. Mixed thoughts on that. Those that were here thought it was fun. The 1270s band, which went first, kind of the oldies band, they ended up winning. So if you hadn't heard that, we'll put that out there.
Yeah, there was definitely repeat votes on the app. I mean, I could just tell from the way it was working, but there was nothing we could do because I wasn't 100% sure. So I don't know. Maybe that's a key we could work out. I mean,
we talked.
There were a lot of votes for the 1270s,
Yes.
like almost 2,000.
I told Chief that he maybe recruited the town of Ethan. I don't know, but any band could have done that.
Right, exactly. Every band had the opportunity to go in and vote multiple times, and the only way to combat that was to do a login. And we kind of decided, well, people probably aren't going to take as much time. I mean, it takes a little bit of time to do a login with the app, so.
And oddly enough, we had vendors say that their Thursday, they had some people come over, but they left. They didn't, after the concert, they just left. Same with Skillet. But on Friday, after the Battle of the Bands, it kind of came out and ate, so they had a great Friday. And then I had one say, we don't do that again. We just didn't have any traffic on Friday. And obviously a much smaller number in the Corn Palace, but there was good traffic downtown. It's just some of that anecdotal things is very difficult to judge, and how you quantify it. We know what comes through the door. What we're seeing here is solid numbers. We know that. Skillet, total number sold, 1512, 289 comped. So again, we felt pretty good about having 1,700 to 1,800 in the building. Again, I've heard good things about the shows. The sound was good, but I would certainly open it up to thoughts that you have. The show is come and gone, so there's not much we can do about it. They've been paid. We're wrapping things up. But as far as the shows go, we know we had some hiccups in our concessions, staffing issues. I'll be very honest with you, it blew us away that as many came in so early for Scotty McCreary as did. We really thought, we had a great band outside, and there was a nice big crowd. As soon as the doors opened, they come moving in right away. So,
I've heard only good about the bands, and I don't know about the Battle of the Bands, but I've heard only good about the other two. There have been no complaints, which is very odd. other than prices of liquor. And too bad.
Tough luck.
I do have a recommendation.
Sure.
I took tickets for Scotty, and you're not kidding, there was a line early. It was across the street and down.
wow.
And they were, we had. we had,
There were two lines.
Those two lines.
Yeah,
They went-
and we had 4 people, and we were doing them as fast as we could, but and you guys wanted us to keep, kept telling me, look for those that have party pit tickets. No way in hell could we do that, I'm just saying. Because those certain tickets wouldn't scan because they were printed in the wrong place. And then anybody with a phone that has tickets on them, if the screen isn't bright enough, we have to take them aside, have them brighten the screen. And typically they have 4, 6, 8 tickets on there.
Yeah, I was just telling
And-
people yelling, I was like, hey,
Yeah.
put your phone on bright.
Yeah, and then the line just kept going, and some people were getting a little upset. So if you're going to do a separate entrance again, I would stamp something on the front of the party pit tickets that's big, that just says party pit or pit. And that way, if we see it, we can say, you're at the wrong entrance after you stood here for a half hour.
We can do that. We can put a logo, like our sponsor, for example, from a Curry Visitor
That's a
Night.
great
We could
idea.
put that logo on that ticket.
At the district, they have someone walk up and down the line
Yeah.
that says, if you're here for party pit, you go over here. If you're here for regular, you go over here, and there's someone out there.
Tim did do that at the party
Okay.
pit line, he was out there.
No, and they walk up and down the line and they tell everyone where to go.
We had a couple.
And we
people
just
in
couldn't
there,
afford
and it's like,
taking
I'm-
somebody away from
Yep.
tickets to
But
do
it could be a
that.
new person.
And a couple of those things are on us, you know, there's really no reason that when the ticket alignment, you print them, and it printed on the ticket, you grab them and sign it, it's off this far, it will
Right.
not scan, and Craig fixed the alignment, and it was all fine, but
Some of them would scan and some of them wouldn't.
They-
So
they
we
should
would
be
try
100%.
it and
It is-
then, yeah.
and
It's just the way things go. But if you had that stamp on there, we could have done that.
that's a great idea. We took so if you didn't know, we took the 500, for the most part, we had 500, well, we did have 500 sold for 7th grade, sold out, so was Silly. And we brought them in the south side. And kind of a shoot there, they were listening to music, as soon as the doors open, Geo and volunteers got, and what was nice about the phones, we brought them inside, we didn't have the issue with the light. The bright sun coming in the windows on the west really is difficult for our scanners to get the phones. That's why we had that issue. I don't know how we fixed that. When the sun's down, it's not an issue.
Well, and if they didn't know how to brighten their phones, we'd punch in the numbers. Well, then that takes a while too, so.
Well, and we can get more scanners too. We
Yeah.
can have tearing tickets, by the way. We couldn't scan them, you just tear the ticket. That's not a slow process.
Yeah, just try to take it and put it in a bucket, but make sure they had it right.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. When you have a long line like
And of
that.
course, that entrance on the south side was new. We thought it actually went
Right.
better for Skillet because we practiced a bit. So, lesson learned, you know,
Right.
but I appreciate that. Anything else, on concert?
Right? Too many days.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Scan problems I like to hear.
Right.
Too many people.
I heard positive too. Of course, the thing is, it's pretty rare when they come to your face and complain. I mean, I honestly don't mind that. If you have a complaint, tell me. If you enjoyed yourself, tell 100 people, right?
Right.
That's not typically how it goes. They behind your back or under your breath say, oh boy. But those, you know, some family and friends, they thought, and I talked to my brother's hired hand. Scene's gotten to Curry 3 times, actually. He says, this is the best heat sounded all 3 times. One was an indoor show, one was an outdoor show, and then it was ours. And so I thought the Outsound Productions did a nice job for us.
Great job.
They were, and I will tell you, the bands were awesome to work with. We had no Skillet, we had a few little humps. They were, I will say they were sensitive. As easy as Outsound wanted their parking different. And when they sent that request in, it was not received well. We don't like changing things like that. But what it was is the buses were going to park north and south. And when the bus drivers were at the hotel, those buses do not move until they are ready to leave, and that's when they pull out. What that would have done is the Outsound people wouldn't have been able to get their truck in place to load out until after 1 a.m. So what I thought was a very simple fix, as did Outsound, I said, well, we can do this, but they have to obviously approve it. I'm not making that decision, obviously, because they could just pull out and say, we're done. And so we had to wait for the manager to wake up from the trip, and we said, for the safety of the artists You know, we can gate this area easier. Ultimately, it makes no difference because we had to load in by hand. They didn't have a truck level, so everything was ramped up. And they had a big show, 2 big trailers. And anyway, it worked out. Some people, and we had 13 MTI people here. We're paying them to be here, and if they don't start loading until 1 a.m., it's 3:30 in the morning before they're out of here. The way it was, we were all out of here by 1:30 and on Saturday night. So we worked through a very minor things, you know. So anything else? Because I want to move on, and yes, that's the time. We've got other things we want to discuss too, but I want to make sure we get good feedback. You can always email us as well.
The other thing I want to bring up is that the paper said the largest selling concert was 6,622 people. I think our next goal is 6,700 people.
Mr. Mayor, if you could speak into your microphone, so that way those at home listening, I'm sure.
I totally forgot we were doing that. Like I said, on the newspaper, it said the previous record was 6,600 people. I think it'd be cool to go for 6,700. Sounds crazy, but it sounds also
I have no idea where it was.
Wasn't Lawrence well?
something like that,
I
yeah.
wonder
Oh.
if that's before they had seats and
Yeah,
they used to have the
Okay.
balcony.
Yeah, I was about how to go fit.
I did not read all the stuff out there on typically I read the paper, but that had to have been, 'cause they actually had 5,500 in the, Carol, there's a couple things right up there. 5,500 was the seating, and there was the whole U-shape. Okay, so you had the floor from the stage all the way to the outside wall, plus the U that went all the way around. So 5,500 is what the corn dolls would hold, so with floor seating, that's absolutely possible.
Yeah, because they used to have like just a open floor space with a balcony around it. They showed pictures of that. So I'm sure that was before
Right
they
on this
put in
wall,
the
if you haven't
seating.
looked, it's a pretty cool look. And that's what it was before 1964 when we put the base seating, so. That's a great goal.
Hey Doug, I just, a couple things that, I went to the state fair over the weekend as well, and I think that one of the things that I heard was that we might have been too aggressive with our alcohol pricing. And I've had a lot of moments of back and forth on this personally, but comparably, one beer at the state fair was $6 for the same 12-ounce can that we were doing. They might have been doing silos, but they were 12 ounces. And I didn't see any liquor there, so I couldn't really compare that at all. But I thought relatively to what we're doing, it's pretty comparable in pricing. I don't know that one way or the other, I think with where we're at, me personally, I guess my personal opinion would be that we keep the prices the way they are. But I do know that there was a fair number of people that grumbled amongst themselves about it, to the workers, and then also to me personally about it as well. All of which I have confirmed had alcohol in their hands while they were doing it. So I say that in a way that it didn't hinder them from buying it. It just was a point of difference. And
Do
then
they
a
do
point of,
tickets at the state fair?
they do tickets as
That's
well.
actually genius, because a lot of people buy tickets and never use those tickets.
Mhm.
I've been one of those people. So,
I completely agree. The reason that we did, it really just comes down to bodies. There's another line. And I will tell you, the Pheasant Banquet folks had always done tickets for the same rationale, but they always got complaints about the lines, the line to get the ticket, and then the line at the bar. So we do tickets for like VIPs and things, but otherwise it's a cash bar. So it eliminated waiting, and they think it's actually sold more. But those unused tickets are free money,
yeah.
no doubt about it. And if that's something, I realized with Scotty McCurry, when we get intermission, and Rowan Grace was done, our lobby is small. We know that with basketball games, 1,000, 1,200, pretty regular. But now you double that, it's small. The merch tables were crazy for Skillet, and it just packed in. Just not a lot of depth, So we have to get a little bit creative with our space, maybe. But I'm not opposed to tickets because it's just a matter of the extra line and bodies to do it. But I was aware. Did you know what the fair charge for their like the carblesses or their
Yes.
seltzers?
They're still buying the tickets, and the more you buy, the cheaper it got. So I bought the $5 ticket for carbless, and that's all I drink all night, for $5 ticket for carbless. Yeah,
Really?
they hadn't been losing money.
And the beers were 6.
Well, no, the more you buy,
Oh,
you get cheaper
yes.
the ticket.
Oh,
Hang on, I took pictures.
Because because
So, for $100, you could get 22 tickets. For $30, you could get 6 tickets, but for a single, it was $6.
And liquor was $8 for a drink.
Okay.
Jack Daniels, that.
and a similar size to ours, you think?
Very similar, yeah.
8.
Yeah, that was cash only.
What are we at?
That was cash only for liquor, but you had to buy tickets for the beers. And
Okay. We were 7, 9, and 10.
I also heard a lot of comments on the alcohol prices.
You know,
People
you
commenting.
said people standing there with drinks in their hand, but I think instead of buying 6, they bought 3, you know, because of the price. That's one thing, you know. In years past, you know, I'd buy a 6-pack or whatever. Now I'm only gonna buy 3 or 4 because they cost so much, so.
Another idea that was brought to me was, instead of giving them a choice between a single or double, all of the drinks would go to a double, and then you set a set price for the double. And I think you could bring the price down pretty significantly compared to where the double is currently at, which would be $24. And that's pretty high compared to any industry partner in town, or comparable to what you might go to a bigger event venue and get. But I would think that might be a way to love looking at that as well. That, and that's where I went back and forth that, you know, you could sell a lot more in L Wine Distributing or Porter. I should know which one it was, called and talked to me, but hopefully they don't listen to this and tell me I was speaking to the wrong one. But one of them brought that up to me, that they thought we could have sold a lot more if the prices would have been $1 or $2 less. And that I asked the question, could you sell 6 to 1? And that individual thought they could. And that for $6, you would sell exponentially more. That $7 makes it pretty price exclusive.
Now, do you have a year-to-year comparison? I mean, is there a way to figure out what
For the alcohol?
for alcohol last year?
We have all those numbers, yes. I don't have a comparison of like bodies. I just did, here, let's just, for example, for McCreary, so $11.5 a person is what they spent on alcohol. We spent, our alcohol sales for McCreary was $25,434. That's about almost the same as what we had with Hairball with half the people. Now, that is a large drinking event. People are in and out all the time. With McCreary, we sold it on the way in and at intermission. There was very little movement, really. I mean, up in the party pit there was, but coming back out front, it was not much. I mean, I was out in the lobby most of the time, and there was not a lot of people out there other than those 2 times. So that's still pretty good. We were happy with that. I can, yes, I can pull that together. I mean, we have numbers of tickets sold, we have alcohol sales, absolutely.
I just wonder, the other thing I wonder too is, and it's going to include you, I'm sure, but did the negative publicity happen?
Remember, pricing strategies can always be discussed in executive session if you as a board ever choose to do that. It does not have to be open.
Because I just wonder, like, did the negative publicity start in July when, following up the board meeting last time, it got clipped and got put on social media, quote, that wasn't helpful, right? I mean, it's going to get But, I mean, that's my, like, did that
And wasn't this the first
start
time that
with-
people actually had to be like seated? Like, is
In
their
a long
seat, is their
time.
seat?
Yes, more reserved seats, more reserved seats. We'd had a lot of general admission in the past, where A would be reserved, B and C would be general admission, and standing behind party pit would be general.
So kind of on showing your seat, kind of just plot it,
Yeah.
and then we get
Yeah.
a break, then you run.
Which we felt for the shows we were having was appropriate, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about that. But that definitely impacts how much movement they do to go get drinks. No doubt.
One of the other things that was brought up to me was having a bar on the far side in the area of the concert. Kind of like Doug already alluded to, that people weren't leaving to go get more alcohol or beer, but if it was available, they could go down to the front and get it and stay in the venue. And so if there's one on the other side, I think you could have sold more to the folks on that side as well. There was one in the concession stand, but again, you then couldn't see the performers that were performing. when you had to leave to go do that. So I think that would have been helpful as well to that end. One of the other things that I had kind of shared some thoughts with Doug and Craig on is that I think personally, my expectations for the number of windows that were open in concessions was not what I was expecting, and I know there's a lot of factors that played into that, but I was kind of expecting, like, I don't know, anywhere from 6 to 8 registers being open for soda, popcorn, hot dogs, not necessarily the full menu that they offer in concessions, but more of a limited menu that's quick and convenient to get people in and out of line. And that especially during like intermissions and bigger rushes, like when we first opened, and between Rowan Grace and Scotty, I don't think that the one register we had going could keep up with the traffic flow. And so I had put together, and I shouldn't say that I put it together, I took it out of a contract that I once operated for a venue, similar standards to kind of lay out in detail what I thought. I shared it with them kind of last week late, and so I'm hoping to bring that forward to the October board meeting to kind of look at that and say, what do we expect as a board if you're going to a Dakota Wesleyan basketball game, if you're going to an event at the Corn Palace, how many concession windows, where do we want them, how many people do we want served, and then is there a type of food that we want served in there? And so as a part of that conversation, I thought I'd just kind of let that remulate with you over the months, so that way we could think about it and bring back, because that was the other big complaint that I got, was that there wasn't the right number of concession windows open, and there wasn't the right number of registers open. And then the convenience of, hey, I want a hot dog or I want a pretzel, I want to get it and go. The gals that were at the concession stand were very polite and said they would make me a hot dog, but they said it'd be about 3 or 4 minutes. And I just don't know that most people at a concert want to wait 3 or 4 minutes when they're looking to grab and go something. And so just something to think about, and then hopefully we can talk about it in October when we have more time to really dive into that, and probably in a like executive session kind of thing. But just something to be aware of.
I do have the alcohol, oh Jesus, I do have the alcohol sales for the last, for 2020, 21, 22, 23, respectively, 16,000, 36,000, 32,000, and 23,000. So the best year was 2021 at 36,000, and this is the only information I have. So we did 25% higher than the best year this year.
But does that count in the number of tickets sold?
That's just dollars of alcohol sold inside during the festival.
I can do a quick, those numbers that I provided are
Yeah.
readily available as our ticket sales, so I can do a little math and send it out with the minutes. You can kind of think about, look at that. So, yeah, I appreciate that, Tim. That was certainly our biggest concern was concessions, and the intent was to have 2 or 3 windows open for McCreary, 1 on the south side, 2 in the north, and we just didn't have the bodies to do it. But that means we can scramble and try to find some volunteers. People fill popcorn, let our kids run the register, and, that's what needed to be done. It was, fell short, certainly. Speaking of concessions, here's our sales from during the concerts. So we had Brandon Jones outside on Wednesday, and it's got a McCreary, Battle of the Bands, and then Skillet on Saturday. And let's see, merch sales, you might be interested in that. Skillet, they were very, very happy with the merchandise sales. That's our percentage, by the way. That's 15%. Holy cow.
Can we share, are these numbers that we can share publicly? That Skillet doesn't, we can?
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue. I mean, these are in our final documents for, our deposits. They were very happy, and if you were here, that merch line was crazy. Now, worse than ours, if that's possible. But everyone's happy because they're buying some pretty cool stuff. So, venue fees, that comes off of our tickets. That all helps, and total revenue came up to $370,568.
So the one caution I'll say, Doug's showing the concessions from festival, and there's also a cost of goods sold, but there's labor that goes in with that. That would not be shown in the expenditures. So it's not just that straight profit. You're missing the labor expense.
And I do have the cost.
You have the cost of good, I said that, but not the labor expense.
Is there any labor expenses in this at all? None?
No. Well, the special ones, loading crew, that
Gotcha.
kind of
Our
thing, yes.
parents.
Yep, our contract services with the, I can run through that real quick here. Again, expenses, this is our cost for McCreary, the bands, the Battle of the Bands, and the prize money, skillet, fees, ticket fees to E-Tix, our loading crew, who, 12 to 14 people. They've been really good. They kind of set that when we know what our concert is. Load in of sound, load out of sound, load in and load out of each band. So that's where that comes from. Show choir, this used to be 50%. When I got here, that is, we pay them 30% of our net. We thought they did a really nice job for us. Light and sound was an increased cost from what we were expecting to be about $28,000 because the skillet required some special equipment, which added to that cost. Pepper's cost is in there. Now, that, remember, is for the festival, and then we can use them for other acts at 10% of the artist's fee. So I put that all in here. Hotels, most of them, this extra money here for each band was a buyout for rooms and food. So we didn't have a lot of hotels. We've had that's been much higher in the past. Hospitality was the meals for light and sound. There is our cost of goods for the alcohol, our alcohol taxes that we paid. There's the tax amounts that went in. Our free stage entertainment, which was higher than it had been, but we also knew we had good sales going in our concerts, so we upped that just a little bit with some quality. And of course, sponsorships helped to pay for that. We had the pedal pole outside, so we have costs for some trophies and a contractor to run that. Rentals are the tent and the bike rack that we get. Advertising, which is, we actually have, there's got to be a bill missing, quite honestly, and it's not here yet. We think it's going to be closer to $20,000, because when I was putting that out there, we have a credit card bill, for example, it's not in yet for some of the online advertising we did. So that's going to be just a bit more. This bill is not in yet. I upped it from last year a bit, so we'll see how close that is. And we paid for, this is a group we paid to clean up the Midway every morning. They come and pick up the street and empty all the garbages for us, which has been good. So our staff does the power washing of the street, and then we had some help from Dakota Wrestling this year, and we paid them for that and some miscellaneous supplies. And there's our total expense. So from these numbers, that's where we're at, which is, it's always good when it's positive. Obviously, we always want it to be higher.
Yes.
And we work toward that, and open to ideas on what we can do, to cut money here. There's some things we've changed. There used to be a large usher payment. Maybe we use volunteers for that, and we did signage in the auditorium. So we don't have that anymore. We changed the alcohol percentage to keep some of that revenue with us. So, any questions about that? I can send this out to you in the notes as well.
Did anyone have any feedback, good or positive, good or bad, about all of the seats being reserved this year? I didn't hear any.
I heard people loved it.
Yeah, I didn't hear any negatives. So.
I was ushering and I only heard one person that was mad because they kept sitting in the wrong seat. But I found their seat eventually. I said, just sit here where you're supposed to. And then everyone was happy after that. So, I probably sat 30 to 40% of the people, but it was fun.
One thing on the floor, Jory, you were working the floor. We actually have magnets for the chairs, but they're quite small, and the lights are kind of dim. We turn those on, so people can kind of find their spot and safely get in and out of their seat. But we put the large sheets of paper on there. You can miss them. It was kind of primitive, but it seemed to work. I don't know.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth. The only issue for seating is when they're stuck together,
Yeah,
they're pretty close.
you got 15 inches and that's it. Yeah.
So, we had,
Kind of like this.
I kind of helped a few people, hey, let me get these apart, you're in an aisle seat, was supposed to do that. If I wasn't, I apologize. Anyways.
We didn't have anybody throw chairs, but, yeah, I mean, that's just the style of chair we have, I guess. I don't know if it's the same as these back here, for example. Same width and, other than cloth seats, so.
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna add to going up to the carnival, feedback, I don't know if this is probably a big discussion, but a lot of continued conversation for moving it back the way it was, right, 1st to 7th. Had a chance, well, Jordan and I actually, Rotary Club this week, we had a chance to visit, because former member, I don't know, because I said, why it did move, or I was kind of looking for context. Do you know what year it moved to current? Does anybody know?
So I came in 19, so I would, 2017?
17 or 18, yeah.
17 or 18. I cannot tell you, well, I think I can surmise. And I've told this story several times, after our first year, we heard the same thing, let's bring it back downtown. So we contacted Mitchell Main Street to talk to the Main Street businesses and survey them. Overwhelmingly, they did not want it back down there. There was those that were members, and of course that's where it's skewed. Those, if you weren't a member, you didn't get a chance to vote on it, but the bars would appreciate that because they're open. The others that we talked with and took input from were Public Safety and Gold Star Amusement. And in fact, that phone call that I didn't have my phone up for was Gold Star. And I've been trying to get the list of rides, but I did have a very in-depth conversation when we did our closeout about moving it back down because we know that's going to come up. So we do have a contract with Gold Star. It doesn't say anything about this spot. You know?
It does actually, on the contract, it says Main Street
Right.
location.
Right. So, and they're technically off Main Street now.
So technically, we should be on Main Street according to the contract.
I will, so, and then, of course, Corn Palace has a vote. So I've shared this with a lot of folks. I like that the Corn Palace is the center.
A lot of people want it back that way, so the carnival making that decision? That way?
I can tell you when it first moved, it was a result of the city hearing from several businesses that they wanted it moved. At that time, they did survey all businesses. It wasn't just Main Street that did the survey, it was us. And the feedback at the time was more people wanted it moved. And the other concern that Gold Star brought up at the time is we were requesting bigger rides. They said it was difficult to have bigger rides because of the narrowness of the street, so they were looking for the ability to add more rides, although I don't think we actually have more rides than we used to. That's the majority of what I heard. Then a lot of the businesses at the time back then aren't still on Main Street, so I think if you were to do that survey now, you might have a different response.
So let's bring it back.
And the other request that we had from the business owners at the time on Main Street is if the carnival was on Main Street, instead of having like their concessions on the outsides, they wanted them down the middle, so and the carnival would not do that at the time.
Wasn't public safety, we reevaluated this a couple of years ago
Yep.
as a board and went through all the factors. And I thought public safety was very much in favor of us
Part of it
staying
was a
down.
fire lane. Part of it was a fire lane issue.
They just felt like they were
The
better
issues they have is
controlled.
usually with younger people, and it's, when you think about it, the carnival itself is in a 2-block area. If you take out our food vendors, it's really in 2 blocks diagonally. So it's very compact, they can get to and respond quite quickly. So they were overwhelmingly in favor of this. Gold Star is as well. I did talk with Tim Bissett, and he said, Doug, we'd have really serious considerations whether we come to the festival. He said, carnivals as a rule, you rotate from ride to ride to ride to ride. So you're standing by one and there's a line that goes down over there, so you run from this ride to that ride and that ride. So when you're linear like that, they can't really see those, so they like the carnival being circular. The other thing he said, he says, when we were downtown, you can't know how many times I had called where we had drunks up in our rides. We had to do security to keep people out of them. Which, late night coming out of the downtown bars and things happen. So he had serious reservations about going back down Main Street. Now, I said, would you be interested in getting on a call? He literally called me during our meeting. So if we want to talk with him about that in October, I know they would get on the phone with us. No problem at all. Because they like coming here. It's on their route. They go from Steele County, Minnesota to here to State Fair. There has been some pretty expensive upgrades of electricity on Main Street. Now, having said that, I'm completely in favor of getting something on Fifth Street and pushing further down into our vendors. They are not. He said if you put 3 rides down there, you simply take 3 rides out and kill 3 rides. It has to be in the same area. That's how they are profitable. And that's, of course, he can say it better than I. That's the business they're in. But, because I did ask that question, we really need to somehow pull folks down through where if we had the food vendors spread out, linear, they're all going to do better because everyone's going to go past them. There's no doubt about that. We wouldn't have a food alley like we have now. It's a definite separation between Carnival and the food and the vendors and the entertainment.
The game vendors that they used to have with the back of their tents right up to the curb.
Yeah.
So all of the traffic
Yep.
was in the middle, so all the stores just looked at the back of the tents.
Yeah.
That was, I remember that was one of the issues that a lot of folks had
Yeah.
downtown.
And then, the litter is an issue, closing the street for which ends up being almost 7 days, 6 days for sure. All concerned, but I'm always willing to go and back and get input again. So, when we have time to do that. But I would want to talk with Gold Star right away. We are contracted with them for 3 more years or 4 years. We just did a new contract with them, so. But he had serious reservations. They like where they're at. And public safety does. Corn Palace, when I'm here, because Corn Palace is the middle of the action, which we kind of like. But we can certainly put it on the agenda if you think you want to talk more about it in October.
I think we should.
Okay?
I've done 3 separate polls on the internet. It was like 90% of people want it the old way.
I would agree that the people who attend like it. But obviously, the issue is you park a ride and then the business owner comes out and says, you can't put that there. You have to leave and we made a conscious effort to do that on our street. Mercantile was open, Chamber was open, Scoreboard, Bradley's was open, intentionally, But the only place we really impacted was Graham Mobile, Graham Tire. And
The other comments I got were that they wish it was back later instead of the first week that school's open.
It's hard.
That they wish we'd go back towards those September dates that we
Yeah.
used to have a long time ago.
It's the heat.
So if you're going to reevaluate everything, you might as well include that as part of the discussion as well.
I would agree.
It is hard when your kid's first day of school and the
First day of the
festival.
festival.
And I don't know why, that's a long time ago when they moved it into August.
I
But-
think it used to snow a little bit.
I don't know if it used to be in October, way back, because we see the dates on the pictures when the festival was going on.
Just as a hypothetical, they could also move school back on you.
Well, and that actually was the thing, right, way back, not that long ago, after Labor Day, yeah. That was always school started, but that's 20 years ago now.
One suggestion, when Stephanie said something about visiting about the pricing and so on, we could probably look at a future executive session then too. I think probably
Yeah.
would be prudent to do that.
Pricing and marketing strategies you can just
Right.
discuss in
Mhm, yep.
executive.
Is it okay to say what we paid for the bands, though?
So I guess if he says so, but
thought the
some of the
contract
contracts
prevented
used to
us.
say that you couldn't say what the price point was, so those were also usually discussed in executive.
Well, the checks have been written, and that's what's public, so it's a little, if you do dig deep enough, but yeah. We asked not to share, we're not to share the cost of our entertainment.
Then you should probably be discussing those in executive.
When
too.
we're,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we kind of did a festival next year, is 2024, is our dates for that, that's a Wednesday through a Sunday. Pepper obviously has had those for some time. We asked them, we kept updates every day, they got ticket counts from us during festival, and said, we told them how it was, and said, let's get started, which they have been, they've been working on that kind of thing, so we'll continue to work with them. The avails sometimes aren't available, until that November timeframe, but they know we know how well they treated us with the McCreary route going from here to Rapid to Colorado. It was a 3-day run. That was very effective for us.
I did talk to Pepper Entertainment, and he's supposed to be getting me those availabilities this week for next year.
For 2025?
Yep.
Okay, I think I'm going to jump into mural themes because I know we want to stay on top of that. If you were to pull the minutes from last week, which you have there, after we talked theme discussions, this is 2026, right? So the corn will start to be delivered next week. It's just maturing now, getting the moisture that we need. So not normal necessary, or not late or not early. It's about right in there after Labor Day for sure. So 2025 murals will start to go up. 2026, I'll be very honest with you, the one that kind of comes to the top is the celebration of America's 250th celebration. I sent some information out about that after the fact. There's actually an America 250 official site. There's a lot of things going on in 26 that will celebrate the, what's the term they're using? Semi-bicentennial.
Yeah, I see that on a spelling form.
Yeah, yeah.
We can have a quiz to see how many people can see it.
So we just, here's the list we talked about, in no particular order, the movies, fantasy creatures, storybook. The local author did get back to us and would like to visit more about that and was interested in, that process. But I haven't done anything further on it. That was literally during festival, and I think we really didn't communicate till right before. In fact, she was helping us with the astronaut presentation and pushing that out, and which was very good, by the way. Charles Guimar was here, and we had 100+ people there, and he did a really nice job. So I thought he appreciated the effort, and those that were here really appreciated him. So.
On the storybook theme, don't the students need the theme fairly soon from us to start working on the mural? I'm just wondering if that one I like the idea of it, but I'm wondering if that might be a better 2027 one where you have a year to work on theme and
Sure.
figure it all out.
I would love nothing more than to have a theme already in place in the back pocket, 2 at a time type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, we had a list, and we actually went through that list
Yeah.
when I was first here, pretty well, so.
I'm just thinking, I know that the students like to get these as early as possible in the year, so if we pick
Yes,
one now. with
we would like to
certainty-
give them something, October, no later than November, certainly. Then they bring ideas back to us in January, and they have them in February.
I like the America 250 idea personally.
I think it makes so much sense.
I do too.
And really just like 250 years of American history, and that can be the muse that they have, and they can pick out any event throughout our history. And, I don't know that when we talked about Wonders of the World, we gave them specific ones that we wanted. I don't know that in 250 years, there are 250 different things in each year at least that we could probably do. And so whatever inspires them, I think is where we kind of just leave that at.
Are we thinking more, I know we had talked a little bit last time about doing kind of a storyboard, so would we do an America 250 kind of from the beginning and work our way towards present?
And
Or-
sometimes history can be very sensitive, but you gotta kind of watch it.
That's true.
I think those ideas will come up and we'll say, oh, yeah, we can't go there, or we can't. Depending on what part of the country you
But in
live
the
in.
young kids' hand, they might just go, yeah, let's do that. You gotta be like,
The other thought that I had at one point, and it might fall into I didn't have enough time to make it come to reality, but as far as the storybook idea, I thought it'd be really cool if we could come up with some kind of written, I was actually thinking poems at one point, that there are a lot of really good American poets out there that tell really eclectic versions of the American histories. And a lot of them are free to use. And so you could put them together with the murals as a children's activity, something along those lines as well.
yeah, that's dope.
I guess we would probably entertain, a motion to pick a theme, if we would feel comfortable doing that now, or we needed to do it, I prefer to do that now, or we could, if we push it off till October, then they're getting the ideas. In November, we start looking at ideas.
I'll make a motion that we go with the America 250 theme, and as we said, let the kids kind of run with it, but also give them this link so that they can kind of look and see what other people are doing as well and work around it.
I will second that.
So one of you, before you vote, one of you had said, I think, 250 years of America's history as the actual theme. I'm trying to think of the marquee being a little bit too wordy. But we can,
America, 250 years.
250 years of America.
so.
You don't think you can put
I know.
Semi-Quasimodo.
Yeah. Well, I think we could put, America 250, or America's 250th, or America's
It's not a NASCAR race, but whatever.
Yeah.
I like 250 years of America. That sounds good.
250 years of America. Which, well, that's not,
There we go.
Well, America, USA, I think would be better also.
20 letters, 20 to 22 letters, we can, I mean, it gets a little bit smaller, but, okay.
If you can't fit America in there, Doug, you can put USA. That's like
17
That's what it
with some
is.
stars on the outside to fill it up.
Mm-hmm.
with the spaces.
Okay, so the motion was for a theme for 2026 for 250 years of America. Okay.
Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Super, thank you. Okay, citizens input.
The,
Let me pull up.
Are you going into executive?
we'll have a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
They moved us up to the front
Hey, our
row.
mics are back live again. If we,
We need a motion and a second to approve the contract with, for our building maintenance with Johnson Controls. That would be building maintenance, HVAC, so on.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
thank you for that. I will follow up with a couple things with the minutes. We are scheduled October 1st. It's a Tuesday. Couple upcoming events I just leave you with. We did the pedal pole. We started out with Mitchell High activities on Thursday already. And then we will come back with the big Central Electric banquet. That's almost 800 people next Tuesday. And then we do the shooting sports banquet, which is the new, the revised NRA banquet, the South Dakota Shooting Sports. And then we come right into the National Kids Pedal Pole and the Raise and Rank Rodeo. So all those
We
items.
sell 1,200 tickets before.
We have
Yeah, so I was
not
gonna
yet.
say.
It's, Dylan works really, really hard. You know, we push out all of our social media and things that he sends us. So it's a great event. It really is. It's 60 bulls in,
It's their finals, so they do like,
Hours.
they do all these all around and then they have their finals here, which is a pretty big deal.
and he loved the fact that it's indoors. You know, we just don't have any impact. And it's a lot of work for him. I mean, he could, this is an event he could move to make his life easier. He wants to keep it here. He likes the mystique of the Corn Palace. He likes an indoor bull ride event. So we're cheering for him and doing everything we can to make it successful. So I checked the numbers. We had 1,200 and 1,400 last year, the two nights. But the issue was the majority of those are pre-sold for his sponsors or walk-ins. And so this year there's a $5 discount if you buy your ticket before September 21st. So and this is going to go up $5. The ticket levels right now are 20 and 30. They go to 25 and 35. So on September, so it's considerable, savings. Yes, Jory.
Is the floor redone between kind of this whole thing and basketball season?
Yes, the floor will get redone after the so a new event. We brought the Dakota Hoyete Challenge basketball here, 3-day tournament. It was very successful, filled up the hotels. We are now bringing their volleyball here, October 11th and 12th. 16 teams, same thing will happen. It's like 600 hotel rooms between the 2 days. Then we do the floor the week after that. So,
Doug?
They're having their volleyball and their basketball again this year?
volleyball is new.
Yeah, but basketball's back.
Yes, basketball's back, correct. Yep.
Doug, I did have a question about the priority of scheduling for Corn Palace events and floor space. I know that a lot of the times in my mind, I think that like priority goes to MHS and Dakota Wesleyan, which I think is fine, and I think it's a good thing that we have them as partners for the Corn Palace. Do you know do we give them dates ahead of time that they can schedule, or do they give us dates and we let them block off dates, or how does that work?
Sure, we get their dates. We know, for example, Dakota Wesleyan does not have a facility to have basketball on their campus. Mitchell High does not either in their current facility. They won't play basketball. They won't actually practice basketball in their current facility on their sport court. So that is all done here. So we get their schedules and plug those in. I get those in June usually and plug those in so we know that we are working around their games. And we also know that they're practicing, obviously, every day that they don't have a game. And we will bump practices occasionally, which is not very popular. We try not to do it the day before a game because for obvious reasons, they want to get on their home court to practice. Certainly priority from November to March is basketball.
I know they accommodated a move of their practices for our Rotary All-Service Club Christmas party last year. So it was really easy to do for practice.
I think there's a difference between easy to move a practice and joy in moving a practice. That I think that if you spoke with the athletes and coaches and families, they would prefer their athletes practice in the facility to get really the true home court advantage as you learn the nuances of the floor, the baskets. I'm speaking like I know anything about basketball. You don't want me on the court, I guarantee you that, unless there's a flag involved. And so I guess what my concern is that I'm hearing rumblings that they don't feel like they're a priority, especially that Dakota Wesleyan's playing a lot of games on Sunday. And I guess I was led to believe that it was because they couldn't book games on Saturdays this year. And so I just didn't know what would have caused that.
Sure. Well, most of that's historical, classic tournaments, classic basketball tournaments from Christmas all the way through February. So those have always been in place. I did, the new ones that I brought here is the Sacred Hoops basketball tournament, which is right after the first of the year, 2nd or 3rd January. And then the big one, which, again, I met with the athletic directors about this, but in the near future, we just don't see us getting a state basketball tournament in our conference facility. So getting that Dakota Hoyete Challenge is the closest thing we get. 3 days of basketball, filling the hotel rooms, which, is the goal for the city. So those two instances took Saturday away, a weekend away, if you will, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That makes it difficult. I understand that, but I think I work very good with the athletic directors, and keeping them informed. But yes, those Saturdays from Hoop City Classic over Christmas to Sacred Hoops to the long time 40 and 41 year Hanson Classics have been in place. The DW Classics, are Friday, Saturday weekend. So there's no doubt that it's a balance between what's good for the city, what the city needs to bring new events here at the Corn Palace, which is what my job is, and working with our local teams. So it is not an easy task, I will tell you that.
I guess I just wonder if even when, like you said, I think that there's tremendous pressure to bring events to the Corn Palace, but I wonder if there's not if you're bringing an event on a Saturday, can we have the cutoff time for that event be, you have to be out of the building by 3 o'clock because we're going to have a basketball game at 5, 6 o'clock. I don't know what the turnaround time is for that. So that way the people that, in the restaurant industry, we always talk about during pheasant season, you want to take care of the hunters. You can't forget about the people that come into your facility the other 8 months out of the year. And so that's the way I kind of view the high school and DWU teams is that if we're making these other events a priority, in my mind, we might be forgetting them. And I don't want them to feel like they're not a priority for us because I know that looking around this table, there's a lot of DW and MHS fans in the room. And so that's just kind of where I was at with that.
I guess I would say, for me, the priority is getting their schedules on the calendar so we don't book anything on top of them for games. Absolutely. And we have these recurring tournaments, which have been in those weekends for 40 plus years in some cases. And the one over Christmas is not an issue because there's a blackout period. They can't even practice during that time. So it's really the Dakota Hoyete weekend that we added, which certainly took some time. But that was one that, talking with the current administration at the time, it's the right thing to do for Mitchell because it's a big event. Restaurants and hotels. But yes, I will say they're our number one priority. They need their home court to play in. And then our recurring tournaments would be second. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, well, I appreciate it, and we'll adjourn. Thank you. We'll see you October 1st. I'll follow up with some additional information. If you have more feedback, be sure to let me know.